We're going to talk about setting IP addresses. An IP address has 4 sections separated by a period, and each value is 0 to 255. Here we have an IP address of 192.168.100.100. So if we're going to keep that IP address, everything else that we're talking to, the first 3 numbers must be the same. And next, the 4th number, the last number, has to be unique. You want these to be a value of 2 to 254. To set your IP address in Windows 10, I'm just going to type in network, and network, enter. And here is network and internet. Over here I have Ethernet. It's similar with Windows 7. Change adapter settings. And now we don't care about the Wi-Fi. We care about the Ethernet. If you have something with a red X, it's not connected. I'll double click on this. I'll click properties. I'm going to look for IPv4 and click on properties. Sometimes you'll see obtain IP address automatically if you're connecting to a company network. For industrial automation, we typically choose static IP addresses. Here the IP address is 192.168.100, which is the default IP address of a VISOR, the beginning part. I set my laptop to 252, and you can see the typical subnet mask of 3255.0, and the default gateway is typically .1. So if I change all these, I could then click OK, and then I have to close this and to accept that change. So that's how you can look at what is your IP address and change it. Next, we're going to show how to ping a device. So I'm going to tap Window R. So I held the Window key down like it was Shift, and I tapped the R button, and it brings up this run window, and I'm just going to type CMD, enter. Another way I could have done that is to click on the window button in the lower left corner and type in CMD, and depending on what version of Windows you're running, it may come up here and say command prompt. The first command I want to type is actually to find out what the IP configuration on this laptop is. So I'll type in ipconfig, C-O-N-F-I-G, enter. And this, you can see I typed in ipconfig, and this shows me my Ethernet. You can see this is the 252 we just looked at. Here we have the VirtualBox network, which we don't care about. Here's another one that's disconnected, disconnected, disconnected. This is the wireless. So I don't care about the wireless. So again, this is another way you can quickly check what is my laptop's IP address while you're here in the command prompt. And to ping a device, let's try to ping the VISOR, because I know that IP address by heart, the default IP, 192.168.100.100, enter. And you can see it's pinging, and it tells you it got a reply in this amount of time. And the summary is 0% loss. And it tells you an average response in milliseconds. Let's try a invalid IP address. I'm going to press the up arrow to go through all these previous commands and just make it an invalid IP address and see what happens. Destination host unreachable. Then it says request timed out, request times out. In SensoFind, when we click the find button, it'll refresh, and it's looking at the MAC address. This is the hardware address of the device. And for SenseApart products, they all begin with 00196F. That's the SenseApart prefix. And the next 3 are unique. So Senso Find is looking for, again, the MAC address. So that's why the IP address often does not matter. You can try, if you don't get anything appearing here, if you can't find anything, you could try typing the IP address if you know it and clicking add. And if this then appears after you click the add, you probably need to open up your firewall settings to allow Senso Find and Senso Config in and out. And you can go to YouTube and search for that or call your IT department. The next thing though, when we want to configure the camera, when we click on Senso Config, it uses TCP/IP. Therefore, this IP address of your camera and this IP address of your computer, again, the first three have to match and the last needs to be unique on the network. If I have two devices that are the same exact IP address on the network, neither one of them and maybe nothing will be able to communicate. One final thing, very often in this lower left corner, we're trying to be helpful and show you what the IP address of your laptop is. Sometimes this will display your wireless IP address instead, so that's why it's easier to go to the command prompt and use ipconfig like we showed you earlier.